morning. Barnes & Noble. She's not in the room. I had to check. She's probably not very good at hide and seek. So I'm Jason. I'm with GameStop. If you don't know us, we're a specialty retailer of video games, and most recently jumped into the tech brand industry. We have over 6,600 stores worldwide, 14 countries, over 40,000 associates, mostly millennials. Our customer base is mostly millennials. And we've got a challenge that's not unique to many retailers out there, which is, gosh, how do you transform a traditional brick-and-mortar business into one that can embrace and adopt the digital age? The landscape is changing, consumer behavior is changing, and how do we keep up with them? Heck, how do we recognize what's going on and keep up with them? So, we kind of start with, why are we here? And our customers ask themselves that when they come into our stores or engage with us online. We ask ourselves with that, why are we here? And unlike baby boomers, which was all about what is it that we're doing, the millennial generation is about why. They want to understand why, and they want to buy into it. And once you have them bought into whatever it is you're doing, they can really become amazing brand ambassadors for your product, for your company, for your people, and for your business ultimately. So the world's changing around us. I remember 4 or 5 years ago in our business, we had maybe 30 to 40% of our traffic was coming from mobile devices. Now it's up to 60, 65%, and I expect that to continue to grow. People are engaging with their phones in more ways than ever before. You've got new technology like the Apple Watch and other fitness electronics emerging. And our customer base is changing as well. People are growing up. New customers are coming into the generation segments that we deal with the most, and our customers are diversifying. And so what we found is we had an incredibly low awareness and understanding of who our customers really were about 5 or 6 years ago. We knew if we sold some product in a store and how much we sold and in the store and in what time period. We didn't know who the customer was, what they were all about, what they were interested in, what their name was, nothing. And in the middle of 2010, we launched a loyalty program called GameStop Power Rewards. And so since that time, today, we've got over 41 million members worldwide, and it accounts for roughly 75% of our annual revenue. So we went from knowing practically nothing about our consumers to having an incredible amount of information around the people that shop us, that buy our products, that engage with our brands, both online and offline. And there are a couple really interesting things that came out of getting a hold of all of that data and understanding our customer behavior. We had some research for years that suggested that many of our consumers used our online properties as a place of discovery, but ultimately wanted to interact in our stores. And once we got into sort of the nitty-gritty, of our Power Rewards program, we found that was the case. We found that more than 60% of visitors that were coming to our online properties were coming there to browse. And many of those were then going and turning around and visiting a store and purchasing within a store within roughly 24 to 48 hours. 26% of the customers that came online and didn't buy went into a store and bought within 24 hours. And that number is even larger if you just look at mobile traffic. And so it sort of opened our eyes to what our customer was really doing. We weren't necessarily driving this activity. This was activity that was already happening, that we simply gained the awareness and data to be able to understand it and leverage it, quite honestly. And so what we found was that our online properties were research destinations. Yes, we do commerce through mobile apps. Yes, we do commerce on our desktop site. But the reality is our customers wanted to use those properties to inform themselves about how much a game was, what was the unique exclusive they could get at GameStop, where's the closest store. They'd like to hold it online but pick it up in the store, and they still wanted to go into stores. And so what we saw and we continue to see today is actually the opposite of showrooming. And so we use that to do a couple of different things. Number one, our commerce folks were very, very engaged on driving online sales. And we kind of flipped that whole team upside down and said, you know what, forget about it. Forget about online sales. Forget about an e-commerce P&L. Now that we've got visibility to online activity and offline sales attribution, let's focus on whatever's going to generate the most amount of growth and create the best customer experiences for our customers, regardless of where the transaction takes place, regardless of who gets credit for the sale. And so we shifted strategies. When we got this information, quite frankly, we were in the middle of a redo on our shopping cart. It wasn't broke. It wasn't the best cart in the world. It certainly wasn't frictionless, but less than 5% of our customers were using that. Had we the information then that we did when we started the cart project, we would have never touched the shopping cart. We would have spent money in our search engine. We would have spent money in our store locator, our product pages, because that's where we found that most of our customers were engaging. And those engagements were leading to sales within a store, and we could watch that. We could see a customer go onto our site. We could see them browse a Mario game. We could see them look at screenshots. We could see them pull it up on their mobile app. And then sure enough, they show up in their local store within 24 hours and buy it. So our whole focus in our multi-channel organization shifted from a very sort of commerce focus to an agnostic to where the sale happens focus. And in addition to driving, an incredible amount of revenue in our stores, it also drove an incredible amount of revenue in our multi-channel business. Ironically, we focused less on e-commerce and we drove more e-commerce. And it's because we were doing a couple of really simple things. One, we were listening to our customers. Instead of sitting around and trying to guess what they wanted and what they were going to do and how they were going to behave, we now had data that kind of told us what they intrinsically wanted to do with our brand. And all we did is ask them, either by looking at data or focus groups, and said, gosh, what do you want out of us in these places? What do you want out of us in a mobile app? What do you want out of us online? And they were very forthcoming, as millennials are. They're very transparent. They're very willing to give away information. They're very willing to allow you to use their data as long as you're using it responsibly and they know why and they understand the whys behind it. And so we use that information to reprioritize all of our projects, all of our initiatives. And ultimately what we found is for every dollar that we were generating in online sales, we were driving 10 times that amount in brick-and-mortar sales in our stores. This, of course, was fantastic news to 40,000 associates that are running 6,600 stores, was that, look, we have a brick-and-mortar presence that customers still prefer to go shop at. And there's a couple main reasons for that. First and foremost, we have to differentiate ourselves. Give people a reason to come in and engage with our brand. Give people a reason to come in and engage with our locations. And number one is certainly our associates. If you've ever been to a GameStop store and started talking to a game advisor about a video game, you can see they're very, very passionate about the category. They enjoy it. Most of them wanted to work at GameStop just so they could talk to other people about video games. So it's very authentic to them, and that comes across very authentic to our customers as well. If you walk into a GameStop and you ask an associate about a game that you heard of, and it's not a great game, the associate's not going to try and sell it to you. The associate's going to go, actually, it's not a great game, but you might want to try this over here. So our publisher partners probably don't like that, but our customers love that because it's incredibly authentic. And it feels very real, and they create sort of that one-on-one cheers type relationship in the store that we can only strive to come close to online, but we'll never reach the pinnacle of putting a customer in front of a store associate. Number two, we've got a buy-sell-trade model, which allows customers to trade in their old video games, electronics, and use that as currency, either through store credit or cash, and it makes buying new things cheaper. I remember I worked for the company for 6 years before I ever did my first trade-in, and I used to hold on to my games, didn't want to trade them in, until one day my wife got really mad because she bought a new piece of furniture, and she had opened up the drawers and found that I had filled them all with video games, and that didn't go over real well. So now they're all on the carpet, and she's telling me to get them out of the house, and so I took them in. I tried to save them, but I never really were playing them. And I ended up walking out of the store with a new console, a bunch of new games, and a controller, and $50 in credit. And I myself didn't even realize the power of that currency. And so that's really unique and another reason why customers love to engage in our stores. But third is the immediacy of the product. We have a lot of product that's street dated. It's released, and gamers and core customers, they're playing with their family, they're playing with their friends. And if you play video games, you have kids that play video games, and a new game comes out and they play with their friends, well, if their friends all get it on midnight and they wait till the next morning, they'll already be behind, they'll be upset, their friends are probably faking being sick to not go to school or calling in sick to work when they just stayed up all night and played video games. It happens more than you would think. And so we have this incredible physical experience that our customers really wanted, and we really didn't understand it until we had this PowerUp Rewards data. And so by using that data, we shifted all of our priorities. we shifted them to, putting people on mobile. At the time, we had nobody working on mobile. Nobody. I remember sitting in a meeting, looking at the Times 40% traffic, and asked, who's working on this? Not a single hand raised. Well, 40% of our traffic was coming from mobile devices. We ought to have some people thinking about that. And so we didn't even leave the meeting before we started cutting responsibilities to some folks just to free up time and start focusing on mobile. We developed a new app. And we had an old app. We had launched it, years and years ago. It wasn't very good. Really didn't deliver a lot of great service. It was just sort of a website crammed into an app. And when we launched the app, we kind of did something that was a little different than what we typically did, which was, sit in the room and try and figure out what our customers wanted. We actually went out and asked them, a novel idea, right? We looked at behavior data. We went out and did surveys. We asked our PowerPoint boards member what they want. And what we found is, while there were hundreds of things we could do, there was really just 5 things that they really wanted in a mobile experience. They wanted to be able to look up a reservation or a pre-order and track them. They wanted us to make it easy for them to find a product. They wanted us to make it easy for them to go on their phone and reserve a product and go pick it up at a store. They wanted to redeem their PowerPoint rewards points. And most importantly, they wanted us to allow them to look up the value of their old trades. We historically didn't give them a very easy and simple to use way to look up the value of their old gear and stuff without calling a store, going into a store. Now they can log into the app or go online on any of our desktop or mobile sites, and we have a full trade center is what we call it, where you can look up how much your old stuff is worth, and we'll give you quotes you can bring to the store. And that was it. Yes, there were lists of other things they wanted, but those top 5 were dominant amongst our consumer feedback. And so that's what we focused on. And we launched an app, and it was fantastic. We've got over, I think we're over 6 million installs now. And our app users are by far our most engaged customers. They buy more, they trade more, they spend more. But I don't necessarily think that they do that because we gave them an app. They were doing that anyway. We find that the more channels a customer engages in, the more they spend with us on an annual basis. And what was critical for us is understanding the role of each of those channels in the customer's discovery and purchase path, as opposed to assuming that they either just wanted to buy online or buy in store. It was quite the opposite. They wanted to engage in many channels. And so now that we had this data, we could leverage that to look across our ecosystem and go, gosh, where are the gaps between what our customers really want and what we're really giving them in that channel, whether it be functionality, messaging, personalization, product availability, et cetera. And so as our customers are evolving, we've had to evolve too. We're jumping into technology brands. We own and operate a couple of hundred Spring Mobile stores, which is an AT&T wireless reseller. We also operate some Cricket stores for AT&T. We own Simply Mac, which is the largest authorized Apple reseller. And we go into tertiary markets where Apple stores aren't. We have Game Informer magazine, which is a gaming magazine that's the #4 largest publication in the world, believe it or not, and the #1 largest digital magazine subscription in the world. We've got a website called Congregate.com, which does mobile publishing and free-to-play games. So we've diversified our portfolio, and we have an incredible audience that's moved very fast, and we've had to keep up with them. And so the Millennials for us is by far our largest segment. And what's critical about Millennials is authenticity. And I heard that word used multiple times this morning. You have to be authentic with them. You have to connect with them, and you have to connect with them on their terms. They don't want to be sold to. They want help in discovering possibilities. They want help in discovering, what options are available to them. They want to co-create. They want to be a part of the process. So, traditional methods of, GameStop 10 years ago, you'd walk into a store. If you've been in a GameStop 10 years ago, you probably were hammered right away. Did you bring your trades? Did you trade your games? Do you want to pre-order? Right? And what we found is this emerging generation is less receptive to traditional selling needs. What they're more interested in is, how can I help you today? And listening to them and delivering on their needs. And sometimes, having the discipline to go, gosh, we don't have really anything important to say to this customer right now, so let's save a communication for when we do, for when it's relevant, for when it's meaningful. And that builds trust, that builds authenticity, that builds a stronger relationship. So, these Millennials, they're huge into technology. They're connected all the time. I mean, there's tons of stats out there about how many minutes a day people spend on the toilet with their cell phone, or it's the first thing they grab in the morning, not their alarm clock anymore. And the numbers are incredible, or the number of times that someone checks the phone during a day, maybe it's like 150 times, I think. It's amazing how quickly these generations are adopting new technologies. There's social and economic instability, and these are some contextual drivers that are shaping them. And so they live in this world where they're really all about what can they do to make a difference. In fact, many of millennials are more interested in having a $40,000 a year job that they love and enjoy than having a $100,000 a year job that they don't like at all or find boring. So what they do and what they are a part of is very important to them, and feeling like they're part of a family is critical. And at GameStop, we have a term called protecting the family, which is about how we work to drive to grow our business, to support our customers, and to protect our associates. And we try and make a family atmosphere, but the reality is at the corporate office, we're mostly not millennials. So the people driving that family atmosphere are our field leaderships, our store managers, our associates. They're the ones that are organically creating it, and we're sort of helping them along and helping provide support where needed. And their parents are baby boomers, and we could talk a while about that, but we won't. So there's really a couple of critical things that millennials want. They expect to live in a world that can be customized to fit their needs. So the days of sitting around and trying to figure out how you want your customer to interpret your story, boy, they're kind of going by the wayside. Customers are creating their own story. And so you can either try and get everybody to focus on your story, or you can create a story with your customers that's authentic and resonates. And we used to be a product-centric organization where we sell products, video games, hardware, electronics. A new game comes out, it sells great, et cetera. We've transitioned to a customer-centric organization. So now our services, our offering, our products, our functionality is growing up with our customers. And so we've always got to stay in touch with them and understand what are they doing, how are they driving a difference, how do they want us to be a part of their life, and how can we be so in a responsible and meaningful way. And most importantly, they demand authenticity. They won't tolerate the opposite. If you're inauthentic, it can kill a relationship, absolutely kill a relationship. And so when we look over the last 5 years of going through some tremendous transformation within our business, there were really 3 critical things that we found were paramount to us being able to understand how millennials interact with our brand and going out and actually making differences that deliver results against those promises. And one is we had to understand our customers. Beyond surveys and research, we're fortunate to have a lot of data on our customers, but we had to understand our customers. 2, we had to understand ourselves. We had to be very transparent with ourselves. What is GameStop good at, and what is GameStop not good at? And let's not pretend that we're good at something that we're not. And that's tough for a lot of organizations to take a step back and go, what's truly our competencies, regardless of the category we're in? And what are the competencies we'd like to have, but we really aren't there yet? And balancing those competencies out with needs of the consumers was critical. And finally, 3, most importantly, was just letting our customers lead, having our customers drive our strategy, really looking to them. And so now most of our strategic initiatives are driven by our consumers on where they're going, what they want, and what we can do to help them.
Great, thanks, Jason. We're going to open it up for questions right now.
Thank
That's
you.
okay. We have time for about 1 question. Anyone have something for Jason at GameStop? Right here.
Shareholder, nice job last week with earnings.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a good quarter.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a good year.
Thank you for being a shareholder.
Digital downloads, how does that fit within your overall model? And how is the consumer, they seem to be a little bit delayed to that model, so what's your thought on that?
So we love downloads. We love digital downloads. Part of our customer-centric strategy is we want to give the customers the choice and convenience to browse, shop, and buy video games and electronics where they want, when they want, and how they want. So we fully support digital downloads. It's a huge part of our business. We do a ton of DLC, both in stores. I think we were one of the first people to do DLC in store codes. We worked with Microsoft very closely to start that. We do that with Sony now too, now with Nintendo. We sell Steam cards in our stores. We sell POSA cards, iTunes. So digital is very important to us. It's important to our consumers as well. But unlike books and music, the size of video games is still outpacing the technology to keep up with it. We've got games releasing, gosh, just the last month that were, 50, 60 gigs. That's a long download. Our consumers don't want to wait that long. It's a little more tolerable with extra content and add-ons. But ultimately, we support digital downloads, and we want to be there when a customer goes to download it and help them get that download for cheaper by using their old trades and stuff.
Great. Well, we're all out of time, but
Thank you
so
very much.
much.